we do have to get on with China. We do need to trade and invest where it benefits both sides, not just where it benefits China. And there are issues of health, global climate change, and many other things where without China, that they won't work.
Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister, has a record of being unafraid of taking on big problems with gusto and confidence. After her short spell as Prime Minister of the UK, she has now decided to turn her talents to a long-standing, sensitive and complicated area of global politics. She's in Taiwan and has spoken there in the past few hours.
I'm concerned that Ukraine should not be forced into some kind of unfair settlement by China. And I don't believe we should be giving China leverage over European security. In fact, we should be fast-tracking Ukraine's entry to NATO and providing Ukraine with all the weapons they need to make sure that Russia is pushed out of their country.
Let's speak to Charles Parton, who's a former China diplomat and senior associate fellow at RUSI. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Liz Truss, former Prime Minister, former Foreign Secretary, of course, as well. Is this a helpful intervention?
Well, the content of what she says, I think, is right. So often the problem is the way that you deliver a message. And if you deliver it in a fashion that's just too strident, then people get turned off and concentrate more on the way it's delivered rather than actually what she says. But if you want to defend 24 million's right to choose their own way of living and their own democracy, if you wish to defend Western interests in the Pacific, and you wish to defend our economic interests because Taiwan manufactures all those semiconductors, it's absolutely vital, then it's hard to quarrel with the content of what she says.
Do you think that, she was supposedly going to be pretty hawkish on China, but she didn't really have a chance didn't have the chance to illustrate that because she had to resign as Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak has been criticised by some within the Conservative Party, including people like Ian Duncan Smith, about just not going far enough, talking about China as representing an epoch-defining and systemic challenge. Do you see a continued tension here? And do you think people like Ian Duncan Smith will be relying on people like Liz Truss to push a harder line?
Well, again, I think it goes back to this question of rhetoric and against the reality. I mean, I don't think it's for people like Rishi Sunak, our Prime Minister, to start calling China names. That just isn't helpful. But it is the job of people like the Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister to sort out a China strategy and be clear about it and give clear guidance. I don't think we had that, incidentally, in Mr. Cleverly's speech three years ago. But as I say, if people like Ian Duncan Smith and Liz Truss are being over strident, they will put people off and distract them from the real threat that we do face.
And do you think either of them are being over strident?
Well, yes, for my taste, and I think for many people's taste, they are. So let's concentrate on the objective strategies and tactics and ways of proceeding, rather than just at the drop of a hat, whenever China does something, shout about it, because we do have to get on with China. We do need to trade and invest where it benefits both sides, not just where it benefits China. And there are issues of health, global climate change, and many other things where without China, that they won't work, as we've seen during COVID and we know climate change. So we need to be more measured about it, I think.
Okay, Charles, thank you. That's Charles Parton, who is a former China diplomat and senior associate fellow at RUSI.